Hello everyone and welcome in this new video.
Put your head on my shoulder.
So in this video I will be explaining how to organize a trip. And the reason why I filmed this video is because I've been organizing trips since I think it was 2 years ago when I first started. And I basically organized a trip that would go all around Berlin, and I made that with my family in 2018, and I made that all by myself. Well, obviously all the things were booked and rented by my parents because I don't have the cash, but I decided which places we have to go to and which ones were most important to visit because it was our first time in Berlin, and so we wanted to make a really nice trip. So I organized it all, in my opinion, but also in the opinion of my parents and the other family that went with us. It went really great and everything was pretty fine. So I thought I would share my ideas to organize a trip because I think that I have a kind of addition to that, so I made that pretty well. The most important thing you have to do is to write down on your notes, for example, the places that you want to see. And for example, here I'm writing Camden, and I'm also writing a restaurant where I want to go because I have an idea of that restaurant and I want to come back there. But if you don't have any other idea, you can just check on the internet. And as you can see here, there are many results, and there are also some different programs for trips that are 2 days long or whatever. And I'm sure that you can find many options on the internet. Here I'm searching for the most famous places to see in London, but you can also see, for example, the least famous places. It only depends on what you want to see in that trip. So here I'm also making sure that all the places that I want to see are quite close to my apartment or hotel, because otherwise it will not really be easy to go there. And so the second thing that you want to make sure is to see if you can go in those places in a really easy way, because otherwise it will not be a nice trip, because you will just spend a lot of time trying to go to those places and you will just waste your time. So also you want to see which places you should eat in. So for example, on that trip that I made in 2019, I arrived to London, it was really late at night, so we had to eat something, and I've searched for many pubs and things where I could eat. So I basically tried to see all the different options that were near to my apartment, and obviously you need to read all the reviews because that's the most important thing, and that's basically the only way you can make sure that the restaurant or pub or whatever is fine. You can also search for the pub on the internet, and you can see, for example, the menu and many other things, so that you can make sure that that is really a great pub. So I'm doing that for all the other pubs that I saw, so that I can compare them and I can choose the best option. And the most important thing, I'm repeating again, is to check the reviews, because people went to eat to the pub or restaurant and they're writing about their experience, and you have to read them so that you can make sure that it's a great pub and that it's also on your budget. Also, reading reviews is really important to see some discounts or whatever. So then the fourth thing you have to do is to write down your first ideas about that trip, so that you can just have an idea and write down all of your thoughts. So for example, here I'm writing that we are landing at 6 p.m, which is a really important thing because that means that we have to have dinner in London. So that's why I've searched for the pubs. When you're writing down these things, you have to make sure that you know all the details about what you're doing. So for example, my dad was interested in this kind of exhibition about old cars. So I'm searching for that on the internet, and I'm going on the official website or something so that I can see all the things that can be interesting. So for example, the cost of the ticket. And so when you got that information, you basically just have to write down, because that is a really important thing that you have to think about, also to consider your budget. So then you can continue to do that, checking all the dinner places where you can go, and also checking places to go to have lunch and all of that. So I basically use this method where I organize things based on their location and the time that we should take to go there, because obviously I cannot put together all the things that we should see because they're all in the same, for example, neighborhood. That's why checking how much time you need to go to those places is really important, because in this way you will consider how much time you need to see everything and you can distribute the different things in different days. So another really important thing that you absolutely have to do when you're planning a trip is to check how much time and in which way you can get to the airport, because you obviously don't want to miss your flight, but maybe you still want to see some monuments or something during the first part of the day before the flight. So for example, I had to consider 2 hours because that was the time that I needed to go to the airport, which was the Stansted airport. So because my flight was at 5 p.m, I still wanted to see something during the day, and knowing how much time you have left in that day is really important, because in this way you can just continue to organize your trip in your notes as we saw before. So in my opinion, when you're trying to plan a trip, websites just like TripAdvisor are your best allies. So on the internet you can literally find everything for every single situation. So for example, here this person is helping us because that person said that if you feel like you really cannot manage the journey by public transport, then your only realistic option is a pre-booked car where you have to pay around this quantity of money. So in this way you know that if you're on a budget and you don't want to spend too much money on this car service, you have to search for another option. So you basically just have to check for reviews from people, because that's the best way to organize things. And once you've done all of that, you just have to consider how to organize the rest, and you're basically just done. So thank you so much for watching this video. I don't know why am I doing this thing in every time that I start recording, but anyways, I hope that you liked this video and that you found it interesting. So if you like my other videos, you can watch them. But anyways, if you want to see my other videos, basically in these days of quarantine I started this kind of addicting recipe making thing. So I basically made every single recipe that I saw on the internet. So I made a lot of recipe videos, but apart from them I have many more, and I say that in basically every single video. But yeah, have fun, and as soon as we are out of quarantine, I hope that we can just continue to travel and to do whatever we want. So yeah, I hope that in this video you have learned something before we can really start to travel, so that the next time you'll book something you will be prepared enough according to my ideas, which I don't really know if they're like cool or not. But anyways, bye!